Hello everyone, welcome to another video here on the World of Coasters. Today we are here in the World of Coasters headquarters, aka my bedroom, where all the editing magic happens. As you can see, got some of my theme park memorabilia behind me. Today's theme of course being Disney, as this is the theme of the video. Right guys, before I get started, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon. It will let you know when we post a new video. We post content weekly, so if you subscribe you'll be in for a lot of videos, especially when the lockdown finally ends and we can go out and film some more vlogs. So in this video we're going to be doing some tips and tricks for Disneyland Paris. You know, I don't claim to be like an expert on the subject, but I have been on 9 separate trips, spending nearly 2 months worth of my life in Disneyland Paris alone, obviously not including Florida and all that. So yeah, I just want to share some tips and tricks that might help you when you go on your Disney trip. Right, so firstly we're going to discuss when is the best time to visit Disneyland Paris. Obviously you can do the obvious ones of avoiding weekends, half terms, that sort of time. They will be busier during that time. So if you're a couple or you're able to get your family time outside of half term time, brilliant, that's the best time to go by far. It was much quieter. Obviously the earlier on in the year you go, between about January and March is normally really quiet, and then from about September through to October that's quite quiet. Well, actually I'd say till November, to be honest. Kind of picks up over the Christmas period. Disney run a multitude of events throughout the year. Just to name a few, they run like Season of the Force, which was run January through February. That includes like a Frozen Ever After time, so you've got like Frozen and Star Wars in January. They normally run Marvel Superhero Summer and Festival of the Lion King. There's Halloween events, spring events, era events all throughout the year. The best way to check is just go online and see what's coming up throughout the year. You can pick your favourite time to go. Probably the most asked question is, how long should I visit Disneyland Paris for? And to be honest, that is dependent on how much you want to get done and how much you love Disney. Myself and Louise, when we've generally gone for around 6 days. That's like the standard trip length for us. So you have 5 nights, 6 days, which can be quite expensive when you're staying on site, but if you stay off site it can cost substantially less. Once you've been a few times you can obviously go for a short period. I'd probably recommend, if it was your first visit and you wanted to get everything done, I'd probably say you want to go for at least 4 days. Obviously if you're going to go during a busier time you'll want more time because of the queues, but if you go during an off-peak time, like I say between January and March or September onwards, you probably get away with 4 days and get everything done. The main Disneyland park you'll need at least 2 days in to see everything it has to offer. The Walt Disney Studios park is a smaller park. You can get that done in a day. On a good day you can get it done in half a day. However, with the expansions that are being planned at the moment for that park, in the coming years that park will be you know, a full day park. It's always been known as a half day park at the moment, but Avengers Campus is coming. They're doing the Cars Studio Tram Tour expansion, and eventually Frozen Kingdom of Arendelle and Star Wars Galaxies Edge will be coming to the park as well, so there'll be much more to do. When it comes to getting to Disneyland Paris, there are many different methods of going. Me and Louise, our personal favourite is to take the Eurostar. We live quite close to Ashford, so we can catch the Eurostar. It used to be really reasonable. The lowest price you can get is like a £38 return, which is brilliant price, but finding that a few and far between at the moment. Well, just in general, you'll be looking at a good £200 for Eurostar return trip, but it can shoot up massively, so just have a shop around as to when it's cheaper. We always find it better to book the Eurostar separately from Disney Holiday, just because it works out cheaper. When you book with Disney they don't always seat you together as well, which is a bit of a pain. Another method of going to Disneyland Paris is obviously self-drive. Me and Louise only started doing self-drive last year. We went in November for a short trip, and beginning of February we went for a short trip this year. We self-drove both of those times. Not only did it work out much cheaper, but it wasn't that bad a drive. I was, you know, it's the first time I'd driven on the continent, so I was a bit like, oh, you know, is it going to be difficult? It's the easiest drive ever, guys. If you follow the toll roads, it does cost €22.50 each way. That's something to bear in mind. So €22.50 to go out and €22.50 to come back. You literally just go to one checkpoint, press for a ticket, you get the ticket, you get to the other end, you pay the fare. You can use card, you can use cash. Just keep an eye on the gantries above each of the pay points and you can, you know, work that one out. it's not too difficult to work out at all. The drive from the ports or the train terminal is about 200 miles, so it's not too bad at all. It's about a 3-hour drive, 3.5 hours. The speed limits on the French motorways is 80 miles an hour, 130 kilometers an hour, or 110 kilometers an hour in the rain, so bear that in mind. It can affect your journey time, but it's relatively straightforward. The roads have always been clear when we've gone. It is motorway driving the whole way there as well, so as long as it's clear, you're not going to have any hold-ups. You drive on the same piece of motorway for most of the journey as well, which makes it much easier. Obviously self-drive, you'll need to get over the channel somehow coming from the UK, so you've got two options there, which is Ferry and Eurotunnel. The Eurotunnel being the easiest by far. It's a 35-minute train ride. You just drive your car on and drive your car off at the other end. It works out a bit more expensive sometimes than the ferry, but it saves you a lot of time. The ferry, off the top of my head, it takes between an hour and a half and 2 hours to get from port to port, so it can work out much cheaper with the ferry, though. I think when we went the first time we took the ferry, it was about 50 quid for a return, which was really good. Like that's a brilliant price. But yeah, definitely check between the two, see which one works out better for you. The final method of getting to Disneyland Paris is of course the plane. I imagine a lot of people will be using the plane because, to be honest, Eurostar only really benefits you if you're going from the south of the country, because obviously you've got the main terminal in St Pancras, you've got Ebbsfleet and Ashford, so they're all London down to Kent sort of area. So yeah, if you're up north, you'd have to travel down to that to use the Eurostar. Same with the Channel and all the ferries. So with a plane, me and Louise have never actually taken the plane, but obviously it's quite straightforward. You can use Magical Express, which will take you from the airport to your accommodation. That's only if you're on site or in a partner hotel, but transferring from the airport isn't that difficult. Charles de Gaulle Airport is one of the main airports for Paris, and there is a train station at the airport, and there are plenty of bus links and that sort of thing to get you to Disneyland Paris. It's not far at all. So one of the main reasons you're going to be going to Disneyland Paris is of course to visit the theme parks. You know, you might want to see Mickey Mouse, but let's be honest, you want to ride Big Thunder Mountain and all that. You know, rides do break down from time to time, so the best bet for that is to just check whether the rides are actually going to be open for your visit, because they do have planned maintenance throughout the year. Obviously Disneyland Paris is open all year round, so you know, rides do need to be closed for their yearly maintenance. Check that. There is a link down below which will show you what rides are open and when, because you know, it can be quite sad if you want to go on Big Thunder Mountain, you get there and it's closed because it's under its maintenance. If you go there and a ride does break down while you're in the queue or even on the ride, they normally sort you out fast track. If you're on the ride, you're guaranteed a fast track to come back at any point in the day. If you're in the queue, it kind of depends where you are and how long the breakdown is, that sort of thing. But yeah, they're generally quite good at getting you fast track should anything go amiss when you're in a queue or on a ride. As I said earlier on in the video, Walt Disney Studios Park is currently having a €2 billion investment thrown at it at the moment, which is a huge expansion for that park. Phase 1, like I said, is a expansion to Backlot, which is turning into the Avengers campus, which will feature a retheme of the Rock and Roller Coaster to an Iron Man themed roller coaster. There's going to be a Spider-Man interactive ride similar to Midway Mayhem, I imagine, but it's not fully confirmed yet. And I'll have a few meet and greets, that sort of thing. I think they're going to be retheming the stunt show eventually, but that's not confirmed either. Also in phase 1 you have the Studio Tram tour, which was removed earlier in the year to make way for the expansion. They're keeping that in a smaller layout with new scenes and obviously Catastrophe Canyon staying, but that's going to be car stream, so that should be quite cool. That was meant to be coming in the summer of this year, but obviously will be delayed due to the park's closure at the moment. Phase 2 of the construction is to build out into the middle of the well, currently it's a field, but it's going to be an area where they're going to build a huge lake similar to Walt Showcase, a little bit smaller than Epcot's Lagoon. That will host nighttime spectaculars, that sort of thing. Behind that will be Arendelle, which will be the second themed area themed to Frozen, Kingdom of Arendelle. We don't know much about the rides that are going to be going in there, but it looks like there's going to be one massive dark ride in that area, which will be bigger than Frozen Ever After at Walt Disney World, which is quite exciting. I imagine there'll be themed dining and meet and greets there. The final phase of this expansion is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It looks like it's only going to be a smaller version featuring one of the two rides at Galaxy's Edge in the America parks. It's most likely going to be Rise of the Resistance. You know, I can't imagine Smuggler's Run really going down too well with a multilingual guests at Disneyland Park, obviously because it's mostly Europe. You know, people speaking different languages, you can't really communicate with one another if you don't understand what they're saying. So I can see Rise of Resistance going in, but not Smuggler's Run. Of course, that's the expansion plan at the moment, but there are plots to expand on. I am hoping one day they expand the Cars Studio Tram Tour to the full Radiator Springs they have in California Adventure. I think that'd be really cool, but that's just me spitballing here. But obviously, going to Disneyland Paris, there are some signature attractions which you really shouldn't miss. I'll just run through a few of them now, which I'd recommend. Big Thunder Mountain and Phantom Manor in Frontierland are the main park. They are two brilliant rides. You've got obviously Big Thunder Mountain being a roller coaster, and Phantom Manor, which was rethemed, well, reimagined. It's the same ride, it's just been updated and it looks a lot better now. Brilliant dark ride. You've also got Pirates of the Caribbean, another dark ride in Adventureland. Space Mountain, that's definitely one to go on if you're a thrill seeker. Best Space Mountain in the world, in my opinion. You got Star Tours. If you're a Star Wars fan, that is a really good simulator ride. Give that one a go. Over in the Walt Disney Studios Park, you've got Ratatouille. Don't miss that one. That is just a brilliant dark ride, trackless dark ride. They're building in Florida at the moment, which is meant to open this summer, and Tower of Terror is one not to miss also. Obviously there are other rides in the park, but these are my like absolute signature attractions which I don't think you should miss. When you go to a Disney park, your ticket includes Fast Pass. Obviously when you go to Walt Disney World, you get it on your Magic Band and it's all done through the app. Disneyland Paris is very much more the traditional way with the paper tickets. So you'll scan your ticket at a Fast Pass kiosk, which are normally found near the entrance of the actual ride you want to ride. Scan your ticket there, it will print off a Fast Pass slot with a timestamp on it of half an hour at a point in the day. You come back at that time and go through the Fast Pass queue. It can cut drastic amount of time off the queue, especially during busier times. You normally only wait about 5-10 minutes tops. But yeah, there are rides like Peter Pan's Flight, which always has over an hour queue generally, so that's one to get. Now the Fast Passes, you're allowed one Fast Pass per person at a time, so obviously scan the ticket once, you can't use it again for a 2-hour slot. If you're scanning early on in the day though, and the time is before the 2 hours, so say you get to the park at 9 and the Fast Pass slot is for 10, you will be able to scan again from 10 o'clock. So just keep a look at the bottom of the ticket, it will tell you when you're allowed to rescan for another Fast Pass. And so don't go going around thinking you can go scan at each individual ride and then get all your Fast Passes, because that's not how it works. A recommendation for Fast Pass that I will give though is scan as early as you can and scan as many times as you can. You can just get some extra, even if the queues aren't too bad, it just gives you an extra ride count. Like if you want to get as many rides done as possible, I'd highly recommend it. Know when your Fast Passes are, know when they expire. So if say you've got a Fast Pass for Big Thunder Mountain but you're going past Peter Pan's Flight and your Big Thunder Mountain one's just about to come up, wait around till you can scan in, then go to your Big Thunder Mountain one. Then when you come off Big Thunder Mountain, you might be able to use your Fast Pass for Peter Pan. Just look at the time slots, obviously it changes throughout the day. Disney are generally quite good at giving grace periods for your Fast Passes. Now don't take this as gospel truth, because it depends on the cast member and on how busy the park is. Your time slot is the half an hour slot. Aim to be there in that half an hour slot. If, however, you're 5-10 minutes late, generally speaking, they will let you through. It will depend on how busy it is, but don't use that as like a buffer period all the time, because you could get turned away at some point. Right, so let's talk annual passes now. Now, me and Louise are both annual pass holders at Disneyland Paris. It is the best annual pass to have. I love having an annual pass to Disneyland. It allows us to go any point in the year for such a low price, which a lot of my friends and family can't get their head around while we're always at Disneyland Paris. It's because with these, it's literally just get a hotel and we're good. So a common question is, should I get an annual pass? Now it depends how long you're gonna, how often you're gonna go. Like if you're gonna go once a year, it's generally not really worth it. There are 4 tiers of passes available at Disneyland Paris. You've got the Discovery, the Magic Flex, the Magic Plus and the Infinity Pass, which is what I've got. The Discovery Pass starts at €179, and that will give you access to the park for 150 days of the year. There is a blackout calendar, which I'll leave a link for in the description. You can go to and see what the blackout dates are. That pass is the bare basic one, doesn't really give you any perks whatsoever, no parking, no like early access, that sort of thing. So probably one to avoid unless you just want the 150 days. I don't know, it's each their own really on what pass suits them. You got the Magic Flex, which is a pass which allows you in 300 days of the year. It is 259 euros. Bit better, doesn't really include any perks as such, just gives you more time in the park. Now moving on to the Magic Plus, which is probably the one that I recommend for most people. It gives you access to the park for 350 days of the year and costs you 299 euros, which is exceptionally good value for money. With this one you start to get the levels where you're allowed discounts. You get 10% off in the shops and 10% off in the restaurants with this annual pass, and it also includes the extra magic hours which you'd get if you were a hotel guest. So that's really beneficial in itself. You also get access to the car park for free with a Magic Plus, which is a benefit in its own because parking can cost a substantial amount at Disneyland Paris. I think it starts at around 20-25 euros a day. So if you're staying off site doing self-drive, it can save you an absolute fortune. The Infinity Pass, which is the pass that I've got, is currently 450 euros. It's quite a bit more, but you get a lot more for your money. You get 20% off in the shops. You get 15% off in the restaurant. You get 365-day access to the park. You get access to the premium parking, which is the Infinity car park right at the top of the car park. That, you know, when you go to Disneyland and you know how big the car park is, that is a godsend in itself. And premium parking is 45 euros a day. So yeah, this pays for itself very quickly if you're self-driving. There's also other perks, including a free non-alcoholic drink at the restaurants, so you just present your annual pass and they get that for you. It's like a nice fruit cocktail drink. You get 20% off at Buffalo Bill's, which is also a good discount on that. Buffalo Bill's is one of the dinner shows there. I highly recommend that. They'll also throw a photo pass in with the Infinity Pass, which these are worth, like, I think they're about 70 euros if you get them on the day. This is valid for about 16 months, I believe. I don't know why, but every time I've had one it's been valid for 16 months. And these obviously do your ride photos and all your character meet and greet photos. Quite a handy thing, you know, really just boosts the value for the pass. Also with the annual pass you get access to the like priority areas for the fireworks and the parades. However, you can't bring a +1, which is the one thing that gripes me about these passes. Obviously I have an Infinity, Louise has a Magic Plus, sorry. And I could go see the fireworks in the priority area, but I don't want to not see it with Louise. So it would be nice if there was a +1 allowance on that, but I totally understand why not. Yeah, just bear that in mind. There are obviously other perks with these annual passes. I'll leave a link in the description to show you where, you know, all the perks, that sort of thing, so you can work out which pass is best for you if you want one, or if you don't want one for that matter. When it comes to booking a stay with an annual pass, you'll have to ring Disney up directly, as you can't get annual pass only rates with it online, which is another little gripe I have. I would like to be able to just go online and log on and do it that way, but at the moment you have to ring up, say I'm an annual pass holder, they give you the room rates for our annual passes. One thing I did miss, the annual passes have different discount rates on the room rates. The Magic Plus has up to 35% discount, and the Infinity has up to a 50% discount, so staying on site, it really can save you a fortune. Another highly asked question is, should I stay on site when you go to Disneyland Paris? And we've stayed on site quite a few times. It's definitely an experience staying on site. Like, you get that Disney bubble, you don't have to leave it. It's a very good stay on site in my opinion. There are 7 on-site hotels. They are the Davy Crockett Ranch, which is a camping site outside of Disney. However, they do a shuttle bus between the campsite and Disney. On site, like proper on site, you have the Cheyenne, Santa Fe, which are the value resorts. You have the Sequoia Lodge, which is like moderate resort, and then you've got the Newport Bay and the New York Hotel, which are like the slightly upper moderate ones, and then you've got the Disneyland Hotel, which is the 5-star plush one that's at the entrance to the park. Obviously they all have different price ranges. Myself and Louise have stayed in 3 of those hotels. We stayed in the Newport Bay on our first visit, which was very nice, but it did cost quite a lot of money. It had just been refurbished at the time, but it was definitely an experience. Sequoia Lodge, which is our like go-to hotel. It's like middle of the range, it's close to the parks. Most recently we went to Santa Fe, which we were pleasantly surprised by, and we will be staying there again hopefully at some point. We do want to stay at the Cheyenne next because it's kind of like the same area, same tier, just a Toy Story theme instead of cars. Another perk of staying on site is you get access to the shuttle buses, although they may not be 100% necessary because it's only like a 10-15 minute walk from your hotel to the parks. When it's later on and you've got kids, that sort of thing, it's handy to just get a bus rather than walking, especially if you're at the Cheyenne or at the Santa Fe. One of the biggest perks to staying on site if you're not an annual pass holder is the early magic hour. You can go into the parks early on. They give you a pamphlet when you check in. It tells you what parks are open. Generally it is both of them, but it'll tell you what rides are open, and as a hotel guest you just take your hotel pass to the gate and they'll let you in early to get some early rides. You can get quite a lot of attractions done in this time, so that's definitely a perk to bear in mind. And finally, the other reason for staying on site is of course you're close to the action. When you're on site, you just come out the parks. You've got the Disney Village where you can get your dinner and all that, and then the hotels. It's all within a 15-minute walk, so it's just nice to stay on site at Disney. They keep you in a nice bubble per se. Right, so staying off site, we have also stayed off site. There are different methods of staying off site, obviously. First off, you have partner hotels, which are hotels which have been approved by Disney. They do run shuttle buses from these hotels to and from the parks. I'm not sure whether you get early magic hour with partner hotels. I'll have to clarify that one. But yeah, they can work out slightly cheaper, and they're a bit further away from the action, but they're generally approved by Disney, so they're still very good. I can't really say a lot on them because we haven't actually stayed in one. The other method being Airbnbs or a private hotel. We've stayed in Airbnbs twice now when we've gone to Disneyland Paris, and they are an amazing way of going for a very cheap price. The only thing I can recommend for an Airbnb is making sure, obviously if you're self-driving, make sure there's parking that doesn't cost extra, and make sure it's a nice place that's an entire house. Like, it's down to preference. If you want to stay in a shared apartment with someone else, you can do, but it's just nice to have your own place when you go away. Being where it is Manor, there are loads of Airbnbs dotted around, and you can get some really competitive prices from like £50 a night up to like £200 a night, depending on what you're looking for. Manor is a nice place to drive around as well. It's a beautiful area which has obviously been done up by the Disneyland being there. We've stayed in Manor and Montrevane, which is a small town right next to Disneyland Paris. But yeah, I'd definitely recommend looking at Airbnb if you're staying off site. Just like I say, be careful what you're looking at, and ask questions if you're curious. If you're staying off site, bear in mind there are some costs that will be incurred from parking. You can take public transport from all over the place nearby. There is plenty of ways of getting to Disneyland Paris, but parking on site is the most practical way. It costs €30 a day to park a car there, so if you don't have an annual pass, that can rack up quite quickly. Just to give you the costs, it's €30 for a car or a van below a certain height. I don't know the exact height. €45 for a camper van. Motorbikes are €25, and if you want premium parking, which is the Infinity Pass car park, it's €45. Right, so just quickly, things to do at Disneyland Paris. Obviously you've got the two theme parks. You've got the Walt Disney Studios park, which is a smaller park, and the Disneyland park, which is the Magic Kingdom type park. You'll easily be entertained in those. You'll probably be spending most of your time in those parks, to be honest. You've obviously got the Disney Village, which is the shopping district. It's nowhere near as big as Disney Springs, but it still has a substantial amount of shops. You've got World of Disney, which is like the largest Disney shop ever. Has all the stuff that you can get anywhere in the resort. You've got art shops, you've got Lego shop, clothes shops, general Disney store, that sort of thing, and obviously loads of food and drink and shows. There's plenty on. Just have a look at the website. They show you all the events on and all the things you can do at Disney Village. Just outside of Disneyland Paris, you've got Val d'Europe, which is a huge shopping centre. We've visited before. You can get a taxi from your hotel on site, which costs €5 for a return per person, so €5 per person. And that will come straight to your hotel and take you out there. You can also walk it. You can also take the train from the station straight down to the shopping centre. It's not far at all. It's definitely worth a look. You can get some good deals in there if you want to do something that isn't Disney. Obviously it's very close to Paris, Disneyland Paris, being Disneyland Paris of course, so bear that in mind. We've also done a trip into Paris. You can take the RER A line, which takes you straight into the heart of Paris. I can't remember the exact cost of a ticket, but it was around 20-25 euros for a day return, which just allowed us to use all the metro lines around the city, and that was about a half an hour train ride into the city. And it was relatively straightforward. Just take some general knowledge of knowing how to read a train map, like as if you're in London using the underground. And finally, let's just go on to some quick fire tips. Obviously you've got the parades every day and the fireworks every day. Grab a program from the entrance of the park that will tell you when the fireworks and parades are for each of the days. Obviously throughout the year the times change based on the sunlight hours and all that, so bear that in mind. Fireworks are generally at the end of the day, so if the park's open until 10-11 o'clock, that's when they'll be. The park runs pin trading days on certain days of the month. Again, there are posters dotted up all over the place. A lot of the places where you can buy pins, they will have a board up that says when the pin trading days are. They also have limited edition pins that come out throughout the month, so have a look at those. Again, you'll find those normally on the counters and it will show you the ones coming out for the month. So Disney do ticketed events throughout the year, so you've got things like Electroland, they do like a Pride Day, they do like Halloween party events like a soiree, various events throughout the year which you have to pay an upcharge for even if you're an annual pass holder. But they're well worth doing because the crowds can be much less. They have rare characters out and you just get to go to the park when there's less people in it, which is always a good time. They use an app called Line Bertie for some of the meet and greets in the park. This is a app not owned by Disney, but when you want to see characters like Olaf or Jack Skellington or Mickey outside Phantom Manor, you'll need to download the Line Bertie app and go to Disneyland Paris on the app, and it will tell you what characters you can go, and you kind of book a time slot to go back so you don't have to queue as much to meet the characters, which is a good idea. Hopefully they'll roll that out a lot more on more characters in the future. The parks do provide strollers and wheelchairs. The fees I'll put below me because I can't think of it off the top of my head. If you have an Infinity Pass, you can get your strollers and wheelchairs for free because it's included in your pass. Another perk of having it. So that's something to bear in mind if you need one. And finally, Photo Pass. Now, I'd probably say Photo Pass at Disneyland Paris isn't as great value as it is in the States. They have fewer photo opportunities around the parks, and the only place you can really get is obviously in front of some of the characters and on the rides. So weigh it up whether you think the €70 is worth it, but I'd definitely say it's not as good as the United States photo passes. Right guys, so that's all I have to say in this video. I hope you liked it. I know it might be a bit long-winded. I do ramble on when it comes to these videos. If you did like it, be sure to leave a like. Any questions you've got, put them down in the comments below. I will try my hardest to reply to them. I'm so busy at the moment in lockdown. We hope to be out in the parks as soon as they reopen, and thank you for watching guys. We'll see you real soon. Bye!